Well, hello, guys. So I have an article that I want to read, and I'm going to read several different sources, but about the same topic. It's New York City is setting up checkpoints to enforce travel quarantine order. According to some of the articles that I have read, they're setting up checkpoints and they will be randomly giving coronavirus tests to people in the cars. If you come up positive, you are forced into quarantine. And if you put up a fight, you are also fined $10,000. So I'm going to briefly read through different articles, but the same topic. And that way then we can talk about this insanity. Okay. This is off of Newsday. It says New York City is setting up checkpoints at bridges and tunnels immediately to help enforce the state's COVID-19 two-week quarantine order for people traveling from states with high infection levels, Bill de Blasio said Wednesday. And starting Thursday, members of the mayor's public engagement unit will be at Penn Station to remind travelers from 34 states and Puerto Rico they must complete health forms to assist contact tracing efforts. Those who haven't completed the forms will be asked to fill them out on the spot. It's time for everyone to realize that if we're going to hold at this level of health and safety in the city and get better, we have to deal with the fact that quarantine must be applied consistently with anyone who's traveled, Bill de Blasio said during a news briefing. So this checkpoint effort is going to be a new important piece of that. Okay. Let's see what else there is here. Okay, the checkpoints are expected to be brief according to the checkpoint fact distributed by the mayor's office. Individuals will be asked whether they have spent more than 24 hours in any state on New York restricted state list in the last 14 days. Travelers from places in New York's travel advisory list are required to quarantine for 14 days. Even if a motorist doesn't plan to stop in the city, it is just passing through. The form is required to be completed if the motorist has been in one of the restricted areas for more than 24 hours. There's no end date to the program, according to Bill de Blasio. The legal authority comes from Governor Andrew Cuomo's executive order, the Constitution 4th Amendment, and the 2000 U.S. Supreme Court case of City of Indianapolis versus Edmund Freyer. As at sobriety checkpoints, an officer making stops under Bill de Blasio's program could search vehicles if there is a legal basis and issue summons to make arrests if other criminality is found, according to Freyer. When New York City was the epicenter of outbreak, they stopped drivers with an out-of-state plate from places like New York and ordered them to quarantine. Okay, they were talking about other states. Bill de Blasio said on Florida's program in March, "I'm not sure it's the most enlightened approach." The Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, which oversees tunnels and bridges connecting the two states, referred all calls about checkpoints to the mayor's office. Long said people who must quarantine will be offered free food delivery help with medications, direct connections if needed. All right, let's see what else they have. Okay, this one is from CNBC, and the title of it says, New York City sets up quarantine checkpoints as it toughens state travel restrictions. New York City is setting up quarantine checkpoints at key entry points along main bridges and tunnels to the city to screen travelers coming from more than 30 states with bad coronavirus outbreaks. Travelers coming in from those states will be given information about the quarantine. They will be reminded that it is required, not optional, Bill de Blasio said in a press briefing. They'll be reminded that failure to quarantine is a violation of state law and it comes with serious penalties. The checkpoint will begin Wednesday. Dr. Ted Long, head of New York City Test and Trace Corps, said that a fifth of all new coronavirus cases in New York City are from out-of-state travelers. The new agency is developing terms to Penn Station and the Port Authority bus terminals starting Thursday. They are checking in on travelers through calls and text messages. And if we can't get through to you on the phone, we've developed teams that are now knocking on your door and making sure you're safe. We want you to come to New York City, but we need you to safely separate for 2 weeks when you arrive. Long said the city will help those quarantining with free food. Okay, we read that in the other one. We know that it's not easy to get through a 2-week period of safe separation, but it's incredibly important, and we're going to do everything in our power to help you. Baloney. New York had previously stationed enforcement teams from the State Department of Health at the city's major airport to ensure compliance with the advisory. All passengers from incoming flights from state on the advisory are required to fill out the traveler's form. Okay, I'm sorry. My son came in and I missed my spot. So I have to find where I was at. Let's see here. There was an important part in here. We're just going to start again. The city has also partnered with hotels, trains, bus, and car rental companies, requiring anyone booking a stay in New York City to fill out a traveler form so that the Test and Trace Corps can locate them and monitor travelers in isolation. People who violate the state's order will be subject to fines and mandatory quarantine, Cuomo said. He said the fines will be $2,000 for the first violation, $5,000 for the second, and up to $10,000 if they cause harm. We need to make sure that the quarantine becomes stronger every day, that the law comes to life more every day, de Blasio said. The mayor's announcement comes after Cuomo has repeatedly criticized local government and law enforcement in the state for not executing his executive orders, specifically regarding bars. While the state has made progress suppressing the outbreak, once considered the epicenter of the nation, Cuomo modified New York City phase for reopening. Here are the states and territories currently subject to the travel restrictions. I'm going to go through them really fast. Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Minnesota, Missouri, Mississippi, Montana, Nebraska, New York, Nevada, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Puerto Rico, Rhode Island, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Virginia, Washington, and Wisconsin. Those are the states that he doesn't want there or force quarantine. Let me see if I can find another one. Okay, last one, and it's they say kind of the same thing, but let's see. New York City will set up random checkpoints at major bridges and tunnels around the city starting today to enforce a mandatory 2-week quarantine for travelers from 35 high infectious states. Those who refuse to fill out the form will be fined $2,000, and travelers caught violating the 2-week quarantine could get hit with a $10,000 fine. Let's see here. Where did I see? Anyways, he was talking about how, here we go. The important thing is that the checkpoints, I think, are going to send a very powerful message that this quarantine law is serious and important and crucial, and people have to follow it, Mayor Bill de Blasio told reporters. I don't see where... See, that's the kind of problem with listening to certain people without reading at first. I don't see anywhere where it says that they're going to do a COVID test. I did see where they're going to track and trace, and they're going to give fines. Let's see. Okay, well, maybe this is where they got it from. It says non-essential workers will not be permitted to leave their residence for 2 weeks or invite any guest over other than caregivers, while essential workers will only be required to self-monitor their symptoms and limit their activities with other people for 14 days. Essential workers will also be encouraged to get tested for the COVID if they are staying in New York City for more than 36 hours. So maybe that's where they got it from. But, this is just the beginning, They were threatening this in my town, and they never did it. This guy just had enough courage to actually do it, which is going to give other states the idea to go ahead and do it. And, good luck leaving town. Good luck going anywhere, really. This is just the beginning. And you have police that are now policing the states and monitoring and tracking and tracing you, and if you don't comply with their orders, then you get fined. And I'm sure it's going to go past that. I'm sure that it's going to go to being arrested for not complying, just like people have been arrested for refusing to quarantine, putting ankle monitors on, being treated like they're criminals when they're not, releasing criminals out of the jails. I mean, this is all and I don't say this to be funny, I guess, but it's like, it just keeps getting better and better every day. It just seems like more and more keeps coming out, and more boundaries keep getting crossed. And these leaders and these governors and these mayors, they're more and more, they're getting more bold and more power hungry, and their heads are being filled with egos, and they're demanding that you follow their orders or else. This is where this country is going. And what's funny is that they're doing this to American citizens and telling them, in New York, having the checkpoints, but he doesn't say anything about people coming in from other countries, not forcing them to quarantine, not forcing them to track and trace, nothing. But American citizens are being forced to do this. So if you live in a different country, by all means, come on over. So, this whole thing is just, I don't want to say it's getting out of hand, because it's going perfectly planned. It's going according to God's plan. It might seem like for us that, everything is kind of going out of control, but really everything's in control. Everything is happening the perfect timing. That was what I wanted to share too. After the bombing yesterday in Beirut, this came out, and I want you to pay attention to the word. I'm not going to read the article. That'll be for another day, because it's usually long. But it says, French President Emmanuel Macron, first world leader to announce plans to visit devastation in Lebanon after the explosion. Well, if you look into Emmanuel Macron, it says that he is has both Jewish ancestry and ties to Rome and the Assyrian Empire. Kind of questionable. He's the only world leader, what they call a world leader, to go over there and do whatever he's doing over there, create peace maybe over there. So that's interesting. And that'll have to be on my next video, because there's quite a few different articles that show how he is setting himself up to be the world king, and they look at him like a messiah. I mean, it's just, there's a lot to it, so I'll save that for another video. But I thought that was kind of interesting, and just, I've seen people over the last few months, but I've seen people saying, oh, this is not such a big deal. Just do it. Just do what you're told. Just fall in line. It's just a mask. Just wear your mask. Oh, it's just a track and trace. It's just information. But they're not understanding the full complexity of this entire thing. It's not just a mask. It's not just a mandate. It's not just track and trace. It's not just anything. This is all leading up to something. And if you don't fight for your will, if you don't fight back for your freedom, then you are going to bow down to another freedom, right? It's not going to be the one that you're used to, because nothing is going back to normal. It is done. It is finished. Curtains closed. Done. We will not go back to normal ever again. And they're already saying that they are going to force people to take vaccines if you want to work. More and more information about that is coming out. I just read an article about that today. Also, where these businesses are going to start forcing their employees to vaccinate for it, or they get fired. And America is a freedom country. This is a place where people are free and get free speech, blah, blah, blah. What part of freedom is there that if you don't take a vaccine that you get fired for it? That's not freedom. That's not a freedom of choice. That's not your will to choose. That's a government mandating that you have to do something, and basically telling you what to do, and people are sheep and they herd along with others because they think it's the right thing to do, instead of standing up for what's right and saying, no, this is not correct. This is not right. So yeah, everything, we're not going back to normal. Nothing is going to be the same again, ever again. This is the beginning of the end, if you want to put it that way and bluntly. I don't even want to say the beginning, because we've been dealing with this for months. This is like the middle of the end. I mean, we are almost at the end. And I don't think it's going to be much longer before Jesus comes. I kind of keep to myself what I feel as far as the rapture timing and stuff, because I don't want to lead anybody astray. But, I believe that it's very, 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 very soon. Not years away. I don't believe that it's years and years away. I believe that it is, very soon. And, if you're paying attention, you'll be able to realize that. So, anyways, I wanted to share that article with you and share with you that this is just nuts. This is just another link in the chain, and this is what they want, and this is what they've wanted all along, and it has nothing to do with the election. I've heard people say, oh, after the election, everything will be fine. We won't hear about this stuff anymore. You want to make a bet. This has nothing to do with the election. It might be some of it, but this has nothing to do with the election. This has everything to do with the global order, because this COVID thing is a global event. If it was just in the United States, if it was just an America thing, and nobody else had it, and they were doing all this stuff, I would say, yeah, this is completely has something to do with the election. But being that it's not, and it's a global thing, this has nothing to do with that election. It's just the perfect timing for the global elites to get their time. And this is the time, and the time is now. And, the curtain's closing, and this is the last call. God is giving the last curtain call to get everybody on board before he comes. So anyways, guys, I wanted to share that, and I hope you're having a blessed and beautiful day. And until next time, may you be richly blessed.